It's really nice that I'm speaking after Ofra, which I know very well. And we're taking completely different aspects of the world of mobility. You need very smart people to take care of cybersecurity. We took the most easiest part of it, just to provide transit information. As been said before, that's my third startup, and I was really not expecting to start a new company, but when I figured out that there's 8 billion people around the world and only 1 billion cars, it shows how big is the opportunity for people who do not drive their car. So what we tried to do at Moovit, which started about 6 years ago, is to provide service to all of these people who do not drive their car. 6 years fast forward, we're today the world leading transit app in the world. We have about 250 million users. Just to give you a perspective, we're adding 1.1 million new users every day now around the world. Our service is provided in more than 2,500 cities in 83 countries and 44 languages. While providing this service, we collect data from our users in a very anonymous way. We don't keep any personal information. We just aggregate people's movement data into our cloud services. And it's about 4 billion data points a day, where a data point is a collection of all your smartphone sensors: speed, direction, GPS, even temperature, and accelerometer and barometer information. This information provides us the ability to have a clear visibility of every city's demand in every given time, every given day. Our service covers the service of about 7,000 different transit operators, like RATP here in Paris, or Keolis, or TfL London. And we cover more than 5 million bus and train stops. The reason why we put this awkward number is just to give you a perspective of coverage. It is about 70% more than Google Maps provides today regarding transit. When we started Moovit, we took a very unique approach. We collect data from 3 main different sources. One is whenever there is an available data provided by the authorities, we take this data and then we augment the accuracy of the data in a way that I will explain in a few seconds. We also collect data from transit operators, which is very different from municipalities or transit authorities, because the operators do have real-time information about where their vehicles, means buses, trains, are actually are at any given point, but also about service alerts. And the most unique aspect of our data collection is coming from our users. It's our crowdsource model. We take this information, we aggregate it together in our servers, and we provide users with an app that have a full multimodal trip plan, real-time data, and other mobility options. So Moovit today is not just a transit provider. It's a platform that aggregates bicycle, on-demand services like Uber or Lyft or Didi or whatever, together with even our own services of carpooling. So as you can see here, multimodal trip planning with all means of transportation. We add a new city to our service in average every 15 hours. So every 15 hours, we add at least 1 more city to our service. And the question that you might ask yourself, how do we do that with 120 people company? The answer for that is maybe one of our biggest secrets, is that we were able to build a community of volunteers around the world that currently cross the 400,000 editors that help us build and maintain the transit data in their own city. So just think about it. Out of 250 million users, about 1% actively volunteer to help us. That gives you a perspective about how many good people are around the world, 1%. And then out of this group, we only be able to qualify about 400,000 people, but these guys are a huge workforce that help us 100% voluntarily to build and maintain their transit data around the world. This is why we're able to grow so fast in our coverage. The way we look at the future is we're absolutely sure that everything that is considered to be private services today, like on-demand companies, on-demand services, shuttle services, bicycle and ride-sharing, will eventually become public transit. And the reason for that is because cities owns the infrastructure. While owning the infrastructure, they do have an obligation to provide affordable mobility to all. We, the citizens, own the infrastructure, therefore we will provide ourselves with affordable mobility. And the only way cities can do that is by applying regulatory tools like prices, supply, and other rules to do that. At Moovit, we would like to take part of each and every ride around the world, either by providing our app to the users, it's the user interface, by being part of the planning and optimizing or monitoring. I'll try to run very quickly about a few slides about how do we envision the future of urban mobility. It's actually a technology stack. At the bottom, there is the infrastructure, roads, rails, and parkings. On top of it today, we have sets of rules. Who allows to drive, in which age, what traffic signs we obey to. It's all static. Then comes the vehicle layer, which includes all the vehicles that we are familiar with today. And finally, at the top is the interface layer. This is how we used to consume mobility in the last 100 years. We used to hail for a taxi, used paper schedule of trains and buses, and paper tickets. But guess what? The revolution has definitely started. We see that at the interface layer, where about 1 to 2 billion people already use apps like Moovit or Uber or Lyft or Didi to consume mobility. But the other three layers have changed very lightly. The infrastructure layer, represented by a tube station in London 100 years ago, and today rules are by the medallion taxi in New York that haven't changed in the last 100 years, and the vehicle layer haven't dramatically changed in the last 100 years. We clearly see the revolution moving towards the vehicle layer. So it's about automation, connectivity, electrification. It will happen in the next 5, 10, 15 years. Big debate about the time, but it doesn't matter. It is happening right now. But to our perspective, it's going to be more of a commodity. I couldn't care less if the Uber that I'm taking is a Hyundai or a Honda. We believe that the next revolution will be at the data and rules layers. Just imagine a 6 lanes road, 3 lanes each direction, that in the morning, 5 lanes getting into the city and 1 out, and in the afternoon it switches automatically. This cannot be done today with the fixed rules, but it can with autonomous vehicles. That's just one example. And we believe that eventually the infrastructure will adopt. So when you get at the airport today, you wait for your Uber, there's 200 people waiting for the Uber, but parking lots will be switched to drop-off and pickup zones. So this is how infrastructure, for example, is going to change as a result of all these things. And according to what we believe at Moovit, looking at the way people are moving today in the cities, the interface layer and the data and rules layer will eventually rule them all. It will dictate how we move within the urban area. And if this is the situation, it was clear to me that my vision at Moovit is to address these 2 layers, and we have 2 goals for the next 4 or 5 years. One is to reach 1 billion users, which will happen in probably less than 4 years, 3 years in the current pace. And the other one is to keep developing our systems to become part of what we call the Urban Mobility Operating System, which means that cities will take way more active role, not only in enforcing rules, but also by directing all the moving parts within the city. So I'm just done with my time. I could speak hours about that, but I hope you got a little bit of a taste of what we're doing at Moovit worldwide. Thank you very much for listening.